Yo, if you couldn't remember, I dug up this statue thing, and now I'm worried it's gonna do something bad to me. So I'd better appeal to it in some way, and I think the best way to do that would be to talk about viral games, I guess. When an indie studio makes a game, chances are it's not gonna be the most popular thing out there. Like, we're on generation 9 of video game consoles now, and each system has had at least 100 games. Some have even ended their life with over 1,000 games, so the market must definitely be hard to get into, so these indie games don't really have too much going for them. However, they do have one thing going for them, and that's the thing with the 3 Ws. A lot of indie games will take off through the internet, as without it, the game wouldn't have gone anywhere. Now, not all viral games are indie, but a good chunk of the time, they are indie games, or they start off as indie projects, but evolve into projects that get made by bigger studios. So I decided that I'm gonna take a look at 3 viral video games and really see if they're good or not. Now keep in mind, I'm not gonna be able to talk about every viral game ever, because at this point, there's too many to count and we'd be here all day. So on screen right now are some games that didn't make the cut for one reason or another. I also need to preface that this is all my opinion and not fact. Everyone's gonna have different opinions on these games. In fact, I'd argue that viral games have the most mixed opinions of any type of game out there, so it's fine if you think differently than me. First up, let's talk about Fortnite. Fortnite is a 100-player battle royale type game. Essentially, the last player standing wins. We have a few modes here. They're mostly just variations of the same game mode, but they change things up a little bit, like having a multiplayer mode to play with friends, or having 2 teams fight against each other. We start off in a lobby for about a minute until everyone is teleported to the Battle Bus, which is a flying bus in the sky that drops you off at one of the many locations on the map. After that, everyone jumps off and glides down until they land. It's then up to you to gather materials and kill other players to survive. In order to keep everybody moving and to drive up combat, there's a gimmick in the game named the Storm, which is a giant force field looking thing that slowly drains your health when you're in it. I like the idea of the Storm. Like I said, it keeps you moving and forces you to confront other players. That way you don't just hide and automatically win. The only problem with it is that if you're gathering materials, the Storm can catch up to you and kill you, knocking you out of the round. And the game does encourage gathering materials, so it's a bit of a problem. The materials that you collect throughout the game are used for this game's building mechanic. You can build walls, floors, roofs, and ramps. It works really well in my opinion. It's the same button as using your weapons, so you don't really have to think about how to place the things you've built. As well as materials, you can also find weapons throughout the map, which do nothing more than kill other players. There's also bots around the map which can kill you. This is a little weird to me. I mean, you already have to fight the other players and dodge the storm. You're telling me we have to fight dinosaurs as well? I don't know, it seems like a bit of a conflict of interest. That's about it for Fortnite. It's honestly not that bad. Sure, I complained about how the bots and the storm setup kind of contradict the building and fighting aspects of the game, but they're not deal breakers or anything. Now let's talk about Among Us.
Among Us.
Stop talking! I'm not Among Us! I'm tired of saying it!
Again with this. When do you learn to quit? Among Us is a whodunit type of game where there's up to 10 players and up to 3 imposters, which are actively trying to kill the other players, who are named the crewmates. The crewmates' job is to complete all their tasks to maintain the shape of the environment that they're in, and the imposter's job is to kill all the other players, as well as sabotage parts of the environment, which can sometimes end the game completely. It's everyone's job to find out who the imposters are and kick them out, so the imposter has to be very sneaky so that they don't get caught. Honestly, not a bad setup. I like the idea of sabotaging. Stuff like disabling the oxygen or cutting the power can help with the imposter's job a lot. Additionally, the imposter can also hop into vents and move throughout the map quicker than they would while walking, which can help with escaping murder scenes. If the imposters kill everyone, then they win. As for the crewmates, all they can do is their tasks. If they fill up the taskbar at the top left, they can win the game. They can also report dead bodies and call emergency meetings, which are used to find out who the imposter is. If the crewmates vote out all the imposters, they can also win. The tasks are all pretty simple since they had to all be compatible with the mobile phone. They're not too bad, if not a little confusing on what you have to do sometimes. And that's it for Among Us. It's a very simple game that's best played with friends. Again, it's not bad if it's simple, but you can't really replay it for too long without the game starting to feel repetitive. But at the end of the day, it's still a fine game. Lastly, let's talk about Friday Night Funkin'. Friday Night Funkin' is a rhythm game that you can play in your browser. It's a DDR style game in which you hit the keys that appear on screen. You need to keep up that rhythm and not miss too many notes to win. If you miss too many notes, then it's game over. This is pretty fun. Matching the notes is a nice feeling, especially if you get this cool splash effect. I think this is the only game today with a legitimate story. Fortnite kinda has one, but you can go the whole game without knowing it, so yeah, FNF is the only one with a story today. The stories that you play as this guy, BF, and you're trying to get with this girl named GF. In order to do that, you're gonna have to get the approval from her parents, mostly the dad who's an ex-rock star, so you need to rap battle them to win them over. You also need to fight a bunch of other people because, this game likes the 90s. From the early PS1 feel to the sharp graffiti art, it really feels like a time capsule. It was to the point where I genuinely thought the game takes place in the 90s, but it actually doesn't, so I guess I'm wrong there. Like I was saying, this really does feel like an early PS1 game. From the minimal cutscenes and the story info, to the character designs, and the fact that this could totally be played with a PS1 controller, I think it succeeds at this very well. The PS1 even shows up at one point, so that's just another reference to this era in gaming. I'm a sucker for the 5th generation of consoles, so this makes me pretty happy to see them trying to emulate this look. Now, Friday Night Funkin' is a rhythm game, so how's the music? It's pretty good. It's nowhere near something like Mario Galaxy or Persona 5, but it's still good. Now, Friday Night Funkin' is very newcomer friendly. It's almost like a gateway drug to the rhythm game genre. It uses the arrow keys in WASD instead of more conventional PC rhythm game controls. It works pretty well in my opinion. I do have one genuine problem with the difficulty in this game, however. This may just be because I'm not very good at rhythm games, but I find that the jump from easy to normal difficulty is too big. While playing the same song on easy and normal, I lost pretty quickly on normal while I was fine on easy. Now again, this could just be me being bad at the game, but even then, as a first rhythm game for some people, you'd think that devs would want to make the jump a bit less drastic for newcomers. And the hard mode's always there for more advanced players, so they don't have to worry. And there you have it. I covered 3 viral video games. Honestly, these 3 games weren't that bad. Like sure, if I had to pick between Friday Night Funkin' or Spyro the Dragon, I'm gonna pick Spyro, but that doesn't mean these games are bad. They're definitely better than some shovelware garbage that's thrown onto platforms like the Wii. You should play these games. I don't expect you to fall in love with them. You're allowed to only like one or none of them, but just as long as you're doing that within reason. If you dislike the game just because it's popular, then it's not a good argument because you haven't given the game a fair enough chance, and you're basing your opinion off of the game's status, not the gameplay itself. Again, if you played one of these games and genuinely didn't like it, then that's fine. And if you do like these games, then that's great too. I know this is a bit of a weird conversation shift, but cringe culture is somewhat dying, which is a good thing in my opinion. Cringe culture isn't a good thing in my opinion, as it can make people feel sad due to the fact that they like something. Like, I get it, there's a lot of toxic and strange people in these communities, but that doesn't mean you should dislike the game itself because of that. If you're basing your opinion of a game off of the fanbase, then again, your argument is flawed because you're not even judging the game itself at that point, you're judging the people who like it. And hey, if you do get made fun of for liking the game, just own up to it, who cares? You're gonna look like the bigger person anyways. It's easier said than done, I know. If you do participate in cringe culture, or disliking a game because it's popular, I don't dislike you. This isn't a personal attack or anything, I just think you need to do a bit of course correcting is all. Speaking of correcting, I think I corrected my mistake with this statue. I'm pretty sure I pleased it by talking about viral games. Ah!